Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another exciting design tutorial with UXMate. In this video, we are going to learn how to create an animation preset and which you can apply to all the icons in your library, right? So guys, stay tuned to the end of this video because I'd be sharing this all the steps, and don't skip any of the step, because if you'll skip any of the step, probably you will not achieve the result which we are going to do here. Well, before getting started with it, make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel and hit the bell icon, because if you are not doing it, definitely you'll be missing a lot of exciting content, right? So let's jump into the tutorial. As always, I have a couple of things on the screen for you, which is no fancy thing though. We have a couple of icons here which I have created the components of those icons, right? Which you can think as your design library and your icons in your design library, right? So let's jump into the tutorial. Let's get started with creating your first frame. We'd be creating a simple frame which would be kind of a 32 by 32 pixels. Then let's create an auto layout of into this frame, and create a center aligned auto layout. Make sure you change this to fixed width and fixed height, because we want our icons to be or at least our animation to be in a fixed dimensions frame, right? So let's give it a nice name, animation icon. Renaming is not necessarily, but it will basically help us to keep our design files organized. So that's why I keep on repeating in my each and every tutorial that guys, make sure you give proper names to your layers, because that will help any of the designers or any of the team members of yours easily figure out the elements. And it also helps the development team guys as well, because when they want to export a particular icon from your designs, using like the proper names will help them to find them easily, because they are not the designers, right? So make sure guys, you always follow a good naming culture, right? Now let's create one more frame within this the animation icon frame which we have created, and this time again I'd be creating a 32 by 32 frame, right? And as we already have our auto layout to the outer frame, we don't need an auto layout to the internal frame, right? So now we'll rename this as animation layer. It is just for our understanding, right? Let's give it a nice name, animation layer. Now next thing is, definitely we need a component that has to be animated, right? Now let's bring an instance of any of the icon, right? Align it to the center of the frame. Make sure you follow the same hierarchy, right? So you have an external frame which has your auto layout, then we have an animation layer, and then we have the actual icon, or the content which you have to animate, right? Now the important thing here is guys, when you select your icon, make sure you change the constraint. So by default it may be center or left, so we need to make it as a scale, right? So that has to be scaled with our animation layer, right? So now next step is, let's create a component of this. Okay, my component is ready. Now what I'd be doing, I'd be creating a property called variant, right? We'll create a couple of variants here, right? Let's say 4 variants. Before that, let me create an auto layout to this with maybe 10 pixels of padding or spacing, you can say, right? And then I'll create 4 variants, right? What I'll be doing, I'll be renaming this property as frame, and by default in the first, or I'll say frame 1, I'll select frame 2, frame 3, and frame 4. Okay, guys, the frames in your or the variants in your component would be depending upon the way of the animation which you want to define, right? So I'll be creating a simple animation. You can create a complex animation as well with multiple frames, but just for the sake of tutorial and sake of time, I just want to convey the concepts, not the actual the animation techniques. So the number of frames would be definitely depending upon the way you want to animate your stuff. I haven't checked this or I haven't used ever this with the colors, but ideally that should be working. But yes, but apart from the color, I can assure you that it works with all other animatable properties like scale, rotation, and the opacity kind of thing, right? So I'll be just creating a simple animation. On click of this icon, we'll be doing a scale up animation, right? So let's also try to add some anticipation to this. Let's say first we'll create the interactions, right? So on click of this, change to frame 2 would be having 200 milliseconds. That's fine. Would be having smart animate. Okay. Next thing would be doing after delay, which would be around 100 milliseconds. We can definitely change the time, as per our animation. We'll be just keeping it simple for now. Again, we'd be having after delay, 100 milliseconds, and then I'd be having a looping interaction, which would be after delay, maybe with after 1 second or 2 seconds, let's say 1.5 second. So after 1.5 second, it will be go back to the first frame, and our animation would be ready to play again, right? Now let's simply select the animation layer in your second frame, or whichever frame you would be working on. Make sure, guys, whatever animations which we are going to do, those are done on the animation layer, not on the actual content within it, right? So now let's give it, let's say let's scale it down to give the anticipation. Maybe make it 20, or maybe a little bit smaller, or it depends how do you want to animate. Let's keep it 18, and now let's just scale it to maybe 38, 40ish kind of thing. Okay, I guess. Sorry, I need to select the animation layer, not the component, right? I'll make it 38 by 38. Okay, and then again I'd be keeping it as same as my first frame is, because I want to loop the animation, right? So my first and last frame would be similar. Like whenever you want to do guys, you can consider this as a pro tip in animation, right? Whenever you want to do a looping animation, it could be a walk cycle, it could be a run cycle, right? You need to make sure that your first and last keyframes are identical, are the same, right? So you can simply duplicate your first and first keyframe and put it to the last, right? And then loop it back, so it will create a looping kind of sense with the animations, right? Now next thing is let's just test this interaction, right? Let me create a test frame here. It could be anything, right? Let me just give it a test frame. Let's grab an instance here, and maybe I need to add a starting point, and I'll start this interaction, right? Now let's see if it is working. Okay, great, it is working as expected, right? After 1.5 seconds, it will be reset to the default state. Yes, so my animation is working. Now how I'd be applying this to other icons, that is the concern, right? So if you see, it won't be working as of now, right? Now what we have to do, basically, this is the trick, guys. Let me just keep it aside. What we have to do, basically, we have to select the actual icon in the component, right? Let me just close it, is disturbing. We need to select the actual content or the actual component which we want to apply the animation to, right? And we'd be creating a instance swap property, right? Let's just give it name, and let's like select icon, or you can define any fancy name. And now in the preferred values, you can select all the components in your design system, right? So as of now, I have created the local components, and I'll be using those local components only. But you can select your design system, and from that design system, you can all of your icons, whichever you want, right? Once you're done with that, let's simply click on create property, and now you'd be saying, okay, that's it. Let's just try to create no, that's not it, but yes, I'll just show you why it is not enough. So now if you see, it works fine with the Instagram icon, but when I do it with the Facebook, it does a weird thing, right? Because we haven't created that instance swap property for all other variants, right? So ideally, I have intentionally did that, because ideally what I do is I first define all the properties of my component and then create the variants out of it. but yes, just to showcase you guys how it is, you know, important, I haven't created that. So now what we can do we need to delete all the variants? No, we can still, you know, assign the same property to all other instances. Let's select, you know, the Instagram instance from my, you know, other what we say, like other layers, and then okay, let's do it one by one. Now again, click on the, you know, apply instance web property and select the the property which we have already defined, right? I'll be doing it for all other variants manually, but generally we should be, you know, doing it for one variant only, and then it should be automatically applied to all the duplicates of it. Now guys, let's again, you know, test this, and this time it is going to work definitely, right? So now you can see my Instagram is working fine, my Facebook is also working fine. Let's, you know, just create a variant or a duplicate of it, and now this time maybe select any other icon from your preferred values. Let's see, let's use heart this time, and now let's say, you know, it is working fine. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, you enjoyed this trick. Make sure guys you subscribe to the channel and add your comments into the comment box below, and you know, stay tuned, keep learning, keep designing, be creative, be healthy.